This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
It's time for Soulmates to Soulmates with your hosts, Dr. Gordon Pilet and Carrie Pilet.
Hey, I'm Dr. Pilet.
And I'm Carrie Pilet. Welcome to Soulmates to Soulmates.
Yeah, welcome. It's been a week since we've seen you or talked to you.
Yes.
We've got a pretty good show planned for tonight. We're going to be talking about children and staying calm.
Yeah.
You know, that's probably one of the most common topics that we find that couples, if you will, address with us, which is their kids make them crazy.
Yep. They hang their heads and they don't know what to do, and they just like, I lose it with them.
Yeah.
And how do I not do that? And that's why we decided we needed to talk a little bit about how to remain calm. We're calling it staying calm. That's right.
We're going to start off with something that Carrie came up with because, again, the topic is keeping calm. And she came up with something I think is fairly interesting.
Right. I call it the 5 frustrations parents have with their kids. And these are probably the most common comments that I hear them saying. And number 1 is, my kids are messy.
If there's one thing we've all experienced is that children tend to put things where they leave them.
Yep.
And they stay there. Even if they've got a trip over them, they don't pick up.
It's a drop and go. It's a drop and go kid society.
And it's funny because when you talk to other parents and they say, I'm so tired of yelling and screaming about how sloppy and messy the room is, you start to say, my God, everybody's like that. All the kids are like that.
Yeah, it's not just me. Yeah.
And it's a little relieving to find out that you haven't cornered the market on kids that are messy.
Yep. Number 2, my kids are chronically lazy.
Lazy. Hey, Mom, I don't want to do the dishes. Hey, Mom.
Yeah.
I don't want to help around the house.
I don't want to help. I'm tired. I had a rough day. I'll do it later.
I'm not sure they're lazy as much as they're work avoidant. There might be a difference, work avoidant, where anything that requires me to expend energy.
Right. That I don't want to do.
If it's not directed towards cartoons or towards, multiple PlayStation, Xbox, Wii's, then it's wasted energy because I've got to keep my reserves going here,
That's right. Right. Number 3, my kids are mentally lazy. And this stems from, they don't do their schoolwork. I have to be on them all the time. They're not turning stuff in. They don't clean out their book bags. I don't know what they're supposed to be doing. It just goes on and on and on.
I think about the number of times I've heard a parent say, "You're not thinking. He doesn't think. He's not thinking." And when you talk about mentally lazy, I'm thinking about all the times that we've got our kids in the car, and you get to school and you find out you don't have a book bag.
Right.
Or you don't have their homework.
Right.
Or you didn't bring in the money for the field trip.
I think one of my personal favorites is when I'll ask them to go get something and they'll go from the other room, "Where is it, Mom?" Well, if I wanted to come out and look for it, I wouldn't have sent you, is what I'm thinking.
And I'll hear Tyler, that's our son, screaming from across the house, "Do you know where my glasses are? Do you know where I put my wallet? Dad, I can't find my wallet. Do you know where my wallet is?" Okay, we got another one here.
Number 4. My kid wants everything with no return. That is nothing. Nothing is enough. They want everything. Take them to the store.
When it comes to Christmas.
I know. We went to the store yesterday, and my daughter and her friend were with us, and they said, "We're going to go over to the toy section."
Yeah, and just look. They said, and we're just going to look.
And I knew we weren't just going to look.
Wasn't going to happen.
I was going to get there, and they were going to have a cart full of stuff that I want.
Yeah, they want everything. And then finally?
Number 5. My kids want to spend as much time with friends and none with us.
Boy, that's the truth.
Especially as they get older.
We get in the way.
Yeah.
Hey, this is quality time. My friends are coming over. What are you doing?
Can't I go? Can't I do? Can't I? Yeah.
Well, I think the meaning behind those is the fact that, again, keeping calm was our theme for tonight. And these are typically things that parents spool up about. And if to some degree you sit back, make a list, and condition yourself to realize this is the way it is, you may find yourself maintaining a certain calmness where previous to that you had problems with that.
Yeah.
So let me go through something here, and I'm going to give you some reasons or rather some ideas, 7, if you will, that might help you not to spool up. 7 ideas to not spool up with your kids. Number 1, you can choose not to react, and that is to respond in a way that's not hostile.
That really is important. That thing you want to do first, the yelling, the screaming, that's reacting.
Jumping out of your skin.
Yeah, and your kids look forward to it, I think. They know what's coming, and, if I can get a rise out of you, then, I can get you off track, and I won't have to do it. I'm
going to, if you will, elaborate that a little bit, because I find that many parents have anticipation of negative things to occur. Mm-hmm. And their mindset is when the child comes in, they say, well, where's my glasses, or where's my wallet, or,
right.
Any one of a number of things that kids complain about. There's this anticipation that when the child comes, it's going to be something negative anyway.
Right.
And ultimately, I think that gets us to the point of becoming reactive, because we're so loaded with this expectation of one more negative thing to occur that we overreact. We tend to explode. The second one, if you will, is, remind yourself that patience is on your side. Patience is on your side. Let me explain to you what we found out, what we learned from our own personal experience. It seems like I've been working really hard to get my son to do the dishes after we've eaten dinner. And I can tell you that over a period of months, it's always gotten to be where I'm having to remind myself that, yes, one more time, dinner's over, and I'm going to have to say, hey, it's time to do the dishes. Well, the other day, I was absolutely astonished when dinner was over how he just marched into the kitchen and started doing dishes. And I had a tendency, I really wanted to say, way to go, because he got it. The light bulb went on.
Yeah.
I just have to apply pressure uniformly, consistently. I have to be patient because it works. You have to give yourself time. And you have to give the child, because if you just apply the rule, and don't get angry, don't get crazy, just, hey, look, it's time to do the dishes.
Right.
Given enough time, it's going to work.
Given enough
time.
Yep.
Let's try number 3.
Inventory your pattern of hot topics.
Yeah.
The things that your kids do or child does that you don't like, the areas that you have frustration with them, maybe the areas where you yell and scream, or the things you just have given up on and you just aren't going to go there and talk to them about it at all anymore.
Religiously, when weekends, my son typically has several kids that come over and they'll spend the night. And one of my, reactive hot topics is I can always go in that room Saturday morning.
Oh, my God.
And it's trash. And yet,
it's beyond trash.
And yet I caught myself and I said, why don't I apply what I teach? And why don't I just walk in the room knowing it's going to be trashed, and instead of reacting,
it's like
which
it's a
was
surprise.
my typical self.
Yeah.
Again, it's a hot topic, people situation. The topic is your room's a mess. Mm-hmm. The situation is any
your
Saturday morning.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And the people, of course, any kids involved from around the neighborhood that don't live with me, that can trash my house and live. So there it is.
Right.
And I walked in the room and I just sort of said, breathe into it, rather than react. Say, okay, guys, let's get everything cleaned up. No one leaves the room. All the games are turned off. Xbox, PlayStation, they're all turned off. Mm-hmm. No one leaves the room until the room is put away. Right. And it worked. It worked. I have to inventory myself of the times that I tend to blow it, and then say, look, any idiot can make a bad situation
that's
worse,
one of ours,
but it takes skill to make one better. What can I do differently? So identify the pattern, try to do something different.
The next one is snap the rubber band.
Yeah, I put that one on there.
I know, and I remember it. I don't know that I remember the full story, but I know what the technique is.
If you find yourself succumbing frequently to the kids, and sometimes it might work if you're on vacation, you put a rubber band around your hand. And
Not
you wear
so
it,
tight
you
that
wear
it
it on
cuts
your
the
wrist.
circulation off and
you
your
wear it
fingers
on your
will
wrist, yeah. And you snap the rubber band, snap it right on your wrist, not to hurt yourself, but to remind yourself, okay, this is a test. This is a time that I have to recognize as, okay, I'm going to lose it. So we snap the rubber band. And sort of it begins sort of a 10-second or a 20-second timeout.
Right.
And I begin to go to the next part.
I just did that one.
Take a deep breath. You snap the rubber band. Okay, I'm here. Now you take a deep breath. You relax. You breathe into it. You put your mind outside of this negative energy, put it into a better place, And then finally.
Yeah, and do you see how we're not reacting with these? You're just not going,
Just something
easy.
easy.
It's like a self-distract. Some of these are self-distracting. Okay, rather than just losing it now, let me just back up a little bit.
It's an awareness.
Figure out what I want to do.
And then
the next one is push negative thoughts out. And then you have pace, not speed.
Yeah, we picked up on that when we were skiing out in Colorado. And there's a tendency for people to start at the highest point and try to ski to the bottom as fast as they can. And I'm sure it's the thrill, and I'm sure it's thrill seeking to an extreme that, wow, look how fast I'm going. But the truth is, as you're, careening down these mountain slopes at 40, 50 miles an hour, there's other people that you can run over and potentially hurt. So they have signs everywhere that say pace, not speed.
Right.
Get a good pace, one that's comfortable to you, and enjoy the trip. Now, the reason I put that there about pushing negative thoughts out of your mind, being a parent is about endurance. It's about setting a pattern that allows for you to catch yourself when you might lose it. It means you have to stay positive. It means you have to understand that children have developmental stages that they're working through.
Right.
One big one for me is to remind every parent that a child is not a small version of an adult.
Right, they're not.
We tend to look at them at 5 or 7 or 9 or 11, and we tend to talk to them like they're a peer. We don't realize they don't have wisdom. They don't have experiential knowledge. That we didn't talk about it yet, though. We're going to. Lying.
Yeah, it's coming.
Kids, we're going to talk about that, about kids and lying. But that kids exaggerate the truth, tend to use facts to their best advantage.
Yeah. And one of the other things we were talking about earlier coming out here is that, part of that push negative thoughts out is because we tend to overgeneralize. There's a distortion. We think,
Sure.
And because we think it's always, we do a lot of that. And we go back to that, just anticipation of what I know they're going to do, and they haven't done it yet. We haven't even gotten there.
And then finally, if all else fails, use the bench.
Yeah,
we like the idea of the bench. It's something that we were exposed to a few years ago. This is where you tell the child you need to go sit on the bench, and as you sit on the bench, you're going to work through 4 things that I expect of you before you get off the bench. But one is that you're going to identify the problem and explain it to me in a way that I concur that it makes sense. Number 2, you're going to offer a solution to this problem. And by offering a solution that's acceptable to us, that we acknowledge, then once we acknowledge and accept that, you need to apologize to me, to your mom, to your dad, whoever, to your brother or sister.
Right.
And then you need to close with a hug. The bench. And so we like the idea of the bench because it stands for, we came up with this slang, behaviors
exceptionally naughty children have.
Yeah. So we're going to stop the bench, stop behaviors exceptionally naughty children have.
Now, we were talking to one family this week, and they had done a bigger piece of furniture, and when they had 2 kids that were squabbling, they sent them both to the bench together, which is not something I had ever considered, with the same criteria. What is the problem that you guys are trying to solve? So you got 2 perspectives. How would you like it to be solved? You must apologize to each other and give each other a hug before you can get off the bench.
Understand, the bench isn't punishment. The bench is a solution. You work through this. Now, it doesn't work for all families, but we found about 95% of the children that do. Again, you're not yelling, you're not screaming, you're not punishing the child. You're just trying to say you need to contribute to resolving these issues. So this is part of what you can do, as if you will, to make that happen. Hey, we're going to be taking just a few minute break here.